Now the camera's on.
Full.
1, 2, 3, great!
Oh my gosh.
What's up, guys? It's Cody from OTR Disc Golf again, back at it with some commentary for a recent A-Pool Team Challenge match between Team 2Buff and Team Crane. We got Vaughn Hultgren starting us off. He's throwing his EchoStar Excalibur. Unfortunately, just a little too much height, not enough turn. He does land out of bounds. So we got Andrew Cochran, try to get one in play. He's sponsored by Discmania. He's throwing a cloud breaker right here. Pumps this one out on hyzer, flips up a little bit. Let's see where it lands. All right, so he's left a little bit past the drop zone tee pad. They are going to have a low ceiling for the upshot, or they can swing a big hyzer out on the right. Here we got Matt Armstrong. He's 992 rated from Team Crane. He's putting anhyzer on his Royal Grace here, trying to play the ice skip. Might have gotten a little too much turn and doesn't quite come back into play. But his partner, Jacob, can definitely save him on this. Jacob's throwing his Grand Orbit Rive. He's going to try to match Matt's line with a little bit more stability to get that skip. As you can see, pretty similar. Just gets a huge flare skip right onto the grass. So both teams have a disc inbounds. They both have a chance to get a birdie and start off their round strong. Vaughn has this low ceiling. He was saying how he was just trying to not slip on that upshot, just trying to get a putt. He knows he could have thrown that a little bit better. Andrew's throwing his drop. Does have a good line, just a little too low, and does come up, believe it or not, about 45 feet short. Here we got Matt throwing his Midnight Z-Zone on a little bit of anhyzer. Matt has a very good forehand, and you guys will see it during this round. Lands about 20 feet right. Jacob's throwing like a grenade or something like that with his Lucidex Felon, very overstable. Does roll towards the basket, but then starts coming back a little bit. So here's Vaughn putting for birdie. Doesn't give it enough. He's putting with steady BLs. And Andrew here, like I said, sponsored by Discmania, is putting with his P1. Right on the pole. Oh, that was tough. We were talking about it. We didn't know if it was a little too high, a little too hard, or just a bad spit out. Here we got Jacob. He's putting with his Electron Nomads, about 15, 20 feet. And puts it in for birdie. So Team Crane does start with a birdie. Unfortunately, 2Buff is going to start with a drop in par. So hole 10, 438 feet, par 3. One of the hardest birdies, if not the hardest birdie on the course. Jacob's throwing his ESP Athena there. Gets a good kick out to the fairway, which normally would be a very easy upshot, but this ice is playing a little tricky with the footing on the upshots. Matt's throwing the same disc as the last hole, his Royal Grace. Does pull it a little bit, but they should have a pretty good chance at getting a 3. Vaughn's also throwing the same disc as the last hole. Pumps this one a little bit lower, pushing much better than the last hole. That's his EchoStar Excalibur again. They can definitely get up and down from where his shot landed. We got Andrew he's throwing his Cloudbreaker. Might have been the same disc as the last hole as well. And if you watch closely, you can see it kick out a little bit right onto the grass or wood line. Still playing with the ice in the fairway a little bit. Matt's throwing a zone again, but this time it's a Jawbreaker Glow Zone. He's giving it a bid. It's a little bit lower and left, and it would have been right in. So, about the same distance as the last hole for their 3. Maybe a little bit further this time because of the ice. Here we got Jacob. He's throwing a Jawbreaker Zone. I think he might just be trying to get it right into the basket. Not have to worry about a putt from the ice or anything like that. So, yeah, right under the pin. Let's see where Andrew and Vaughn ended up. Okay, so a little bit further up. Andrew's giving it a jump putt from over 100 feet. His jump putt was super impressive. He could jump up from that distance or even further pretty easily. So, after hitting the pole, Vaughn has a chance to give it a run for 2. I've actually landed in the same spot with Vaughn in league before, and he's hit the basket. So let's see what he can do. Same exact thing. I think last time he threw a backhand and it hit the band, and this time he threw a forehand. I think that was his Toro that he was throwing there. So both teams are going to have drop-in 3s, which is not bad at all on this hole. Like I said, it's one of the toughest holes on the course. So Crane's at 1 under, 2 buff, still even. This is about a 250-foot turnover. Matt's throwing his 4-time ESP Buzz. Puts it about 5 feet right of the basket, right under one of the rocks surrounding the basket. This gives Jacob a chance to run it. He's throwing his Crystal Sparkle Zone SS on a nice flex line here. Oh, just off the cage. He gave that a great bid, and it did get sneaky, but it still got through, giving them an easy birdie. Here we got Andrew throwing his P1. Good height, good angle, just pulled it a little bit. If he started that out a little bit more left, it would have been great. So they have a long look at 2, but definitely an easy 3. Vaughn's throwing a Buzz SS here. Great disc for this hole. Almost got it over enough, but it's still great roll right there. It's still about 20 feet, 15 feet, so pretty much just give them 2s and move on. But look at this footing. It was like on a rock, and he has to stand on the ice. A little bit tricky. Boom. Doesn't matter. Right on the pole. And then you'll get to see where Matt and Jacob are. So that's where Matt landed, about 5 feet right. And then Jacob about 4 feet short. After hitting I'm pretty sure, the basket. I also recorded Matt in singles as well, and going up these rocks on the ice was pretty tricky, so I was just recording him again, just messing with him. I would have felt bad if he fell, but yeah, content, I guess. All right, hole 12, 242 feet, par 3. I actually really enjoy this hole, despite what Vaughn and Andrew say. I think they like it. They were just talking about how they never birdie it, so let's see if we can get a birdie from them this round. Jacob was throwing right there. He threw his Crystal Sparkle Zone SS again. Same disc as the last hole, I'm pretty sure. And Matt's throwing the Midnight Z Zone here. He threw this on his upshot on hole 9. It's a pretty good shot. Let's see if he can get another good shot. He saw Steven Durning do this in the singles round, so he wanted to try to do it too. And he has a look from about 25 feet, so definitely a good birdie look from there. Andrew's throwing an MD5. Very overstable MD5. And again, just like Matt, he's in the circle, but much closer. Vaughn's throwing a Scepter from Infinite Discs, like a Firebird. Very overstable fairway driver. Touching down on it a little bit, and he puts it as well in the circle, about 10 feet away. So they ended up going from Jacobs. I think they didn't want to putt from the ice, and Matt pulls it a little bit, and that goes down the hill as he waves at it. So, unfortunately, they both went down the hill, and they do have a comebacker for their par. This is where Andrew landed with his MD5. And they finally got the birdie. They were talking about how they haven't birdied this hole the last few matches at home, which you definitely want to birdie this one in singles or doubles, honestly. I don't think Jacob or Matt could really see the basket. Unfortunately, they were about 32 feet still putting up the hill. So they will have to settle with a bogey there, which is very tough and unfortunate, but still only one back now. Hole 13 here is 395 feet. Big turnover. If 10's not the hardest hole to birdie on this course, it's this one, but I think this one does play a little bit shorter. In singles, I saw Steven Durning get it just outside the circle, but I have seen a few people get in the circle in this hole. So both Andrew and Vaughn don't throw ideal shots, but they still have a chance to get their par, which is, just like hole 10, a good score to get. Here we got Matt. He's throwing his ESP nuke. See if he can get enough turn on this one. Does put it in the woods over there, which honestly is the one spot you don't really want to be. Let's see if Jacob can get enough turn on it. He's throwing I think he's throwing his Grand Orbit Rive again. Making the same mistake. So they are in the woods. They're going to have a chance for 3, but it's going to be really tough. And last thing I think they want to do is bogey a second hole in a row. Andrew's throwing an MD5 here. Nice flex line. I thought this was a little bit long. It actually ended up being just a few feet away. Might have been in the snow or something. But yeah, it was like right under the basket. Vaughn's throwing a Millennium Bella. It's a fairway driver, 7-speed. I was pretty surprised when he told me that he threw a Bella. I was like, what? Here we got Jacob. I think he's throwing his Hex. Unfortunately, gets caught up. Matt's throwing a Z-Zone SS. Trying to get a little bit of turn out of this. Honestly, from there, I don't know if he can really get to the basket, but he did what they needed and just get a putt. So yeah, Andrew is right there, just a few feet away with his MD5. And this is where Matt and Jacob have for their par save. About 36 feet away. Jacob gave that a great bid. Caught a lot of chains, but did fall out. Matt's putting his Luna here. Dead center. Great par save. I think Matt ended up in that a pretty similar spot in singles for his par save. Hole 14 here. Vaughn's throwing his Gorgon from Innova. Unfortunately, doesn't turn it enough. But good thing it's doubles, and Andrew can try to save them from throwing from the drop zone. So this is the first time Andrew's throwing his PD. She'll throw a lot in this round. I was pretty impressed with what he could do with this disc. Unfortunately, does turn that a little bit too much. But if that was a little bit more left, it would have been a great shot. Still got good distance. Very easy par. We'll see what they get for a lie from over there. Jacob's ripping on his rive again. Maybe a little too high. Fading right into the rocks. But he got that crane love, as I was calling it. Everyone I recorded on crane ended up hitting the rocks and going inbounds and singles. Matt was one of them too. But Matt threw a great shot here. He's throwing his Royal Grace again. Same one as holes 9 and 10. Well, that was definitely a rip. That was cool to see. But I think that Jacobs right here had a little bit better of an angle after coming out of the rocks. This was a super impressive shot from Matt. He's throwing an ESP Raptor, about 35 feet short, right? Jacob's throwing his Fission Hex. Trying to keep it low, turn a little bit. He just maybe early released or too much hyzer, but it looked like a good flight. Vaughn and Andrew here a little cut off. And forehand rollers with ice and hard ground, not always the easiest. It did look great out of his hand, just caught something that he didn't want to hit. Andrew's doing the same thing. They don't really have any other option from here. And it does just cut a little bit too much to the right. But they'll still have a long look for 3. And with what we saw on hole 10, I wouldn't count him out of anything. Andrew's putting his P1 from here. Again, basically the same distance as hole 10. Fortunately, hits that tree.
Really close, yeah. Is that going in without the tree? Maybe. It would have tickled chains, probably would have been left side.
Vaughn's lining up beforehand. Maybe with a Toro again. And it should be a pretty easy par for them. Boom. Team Crane with the birdie. That was a great team birdie right there. Jacob's drive, Matt's upshot, Jacob's putt. It's pretty cool to see. And then this is where Andrew and Vaughn are putting for par. Okay, so it's tied up, 2 under, both teams. Matt's ripping on his ESP Raptor here. Puts it right under the basket.
Don't you do it. Okay.
He told me that was an ESP Swirl Raptor too. For all you Discraft fans. Speaking of Discraft, Jacob's throwing his Jawbreaker zone here. Maybe could have held it out right a little bit more, but still about 20 feet. 25 feet. Great shot. This was interesting to see. Andrew's throwing a FD forehand. Pop it up flat. He didn't like it, but it almost went in. So I definitely would have liked that. About 15 feet right.
Oh, I thought that was short. Right?
Vaughn's throwing a destroyer. Just trying to control the speed with the height. Pop it up. Let it fade. One of the things you really don't want to do with the forehand is just keep it short. So, especially with how close Andrew was, he might have been giving it a bid. So, there's the birdie from Team 2 Buff. And then you can see Matt's drive right there with his ESP Swirl Raptor. About 8 feet away. So, after 2 birdies and the second star frame of the round, it's tied up again at 3 under. Jacob's ripping on his Grand Orbit Rive again. That was a great shot. Hitting the little barrier there. He's about, 50 feet short. Matt's throwing an ESP Swirl Force. He had some great shots with this disc today. Unfortunately, that one hit the fence and went out of bounds, but as you'll see, he does throw it very well on a few holes. Andrew's throwing his PD again. Like he threw 2 holes ago on hole 14, par 4. This one he does almost get it up to the flat. Keep in mind this hole is almost 500 feet. It is downhill, but it does play pretty far. Vaughn's throwing his Echo Star Excalibur again. I thought this was coming right at me for a second. But he plays the height very well. You can see it hovering over the rocks and about 45 feet short. Here's where Jacob landed for the birdie look. Boom.
Yeah.
A birdie on this hole is pretty impressive, so that was pretty cool to see. Like I said, almost 500 feet. I think it's about 475. I'd say it plays at least 400. That's Vaughn's bid for birdie. Let's see what Andrew can do. If he can match what Matt Armstrong did. That was impressive. 2 birdies on this hole. So, still tied. Tied now at 4 under.
Those are team birdies.
Yeah.
Those were great team birdies, too. Vaughn's drive, Andrew's putt. Jacob's drive, Matt's putt. So here we got hole 17, which is actually over 500 feet. 501 feet. It's a par 3. Matt's throwing his nuke on some anhyzer there. Gets a good skip up. But still about 70, 80 feet short. But keep in mind, like I said, this hole is 501 feet. Jacob's ripping on a Grand Orbit Saki Bot Felon. Doesn't quite have the distance. They'll be taking Matt's. Still a good shot. This is one of the ones where in singles, 3 is pretty solid. Not going to really complain with a 3. At least I'm not going to complain with a 3 on this hole. Andrew's ripping on his PD, and Vaughn's throwing a Gorgon. So they will have a look. Andrew's actually got up there pretty far, right next to the hole 18's tee pad. So they will have a putt from about 50. Here's Jacobs from about 75, 80 feet. He gets some really good spin on those putts. That was sick to see. You can count up those steps. I'm not sure how many he took, but probably at least 20.
You're on camera. Oh, I mean, what?
That was sick. I did not expect that.
Hell yeah, brother.
Obviously, I'm going to record everything, but I did not expect them to hit that. So they're putting the pressure on. Ooh.
No.
Andrew's getting a little unlucky with the catches in this round. Let's see what Vaughn can do. Are you kidding me? They just went back-to-back birdies on the last 2 holes. Those are both bonus holes. They went back-to-back birdies. All from outside 45 feet.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was 2 drivers and 2 putters. Again.
One of the coolest things I realized on those 2 holes is that they were both partner birdies. One person drove, one person putt. Between the 4 birdies. That one, it was Andrew's drive, Vaughn's putt, and then Matt's drive, Jacob's putt. So here we got hole 18, 364 feet, par 3. Matt's going to throw his ESP Swirl Force. During the singles round, he actually hit the pin. He was like a foot or 2 from the basket. Swings this one out left. Let's see if it can skip. Wow. So he played the ice perfectly. Again, he looked like he was just under the basket. Because of the hard ground with the ice, it might have skipped a little bit past. We'll see. Vaughn's throwing his Gorgon again. Gorgon. Not super sure how to pronounce that word. Not something I use every day. Andrew's throwing a Cloudbreaker. Pretty similar line to Matt, a little bit higher. A little more bite, but still gets a good skip. You could barely see it, but it did skip a lot. There we go. Tapping in the birdie from about 15.
Low and left and up.
That was a little bit long. Also about 15 feet. So now 6 under to 6 under. 8 holes to go. Hole 1, 630 feet, par 4. Matt hits this angle perfectly with his Royal Grace. The one he's been backhanding a lot. And you can probably guess what Jacob's throwing. He's throwing his drive again. Trying to hit it real hard, get more distance, but a little bit too much height, maybe not enough angle. Does find himself out of bounds there. Vaughn's throwing an Exodus. I think that might be from Infinite. Not enough turn there. Does find the out of bounds.
I'm still good.
A few times Vaughn did go out of bounds this round, but Andrew's going to try to back him up again. You can see him waving that Discmania stamped Cloudbreaker. Punches the hyzer on it. Does flip up to turn a little bit. And gets a great skip at the end.
Not bad. Bottom of the hill. Take it.
On a hyzer.
On a hyzer, no turnover, you know.
Flies better than the fuse.
Cute, cool, easy, like 540, no hyzer, take it.
No hyzer.
No hyzer.
This is where Matt's drive ended up. Jacob's throwing his Crystal Sparkle Zone SS. Matt's throwing his ESP Swirl Raptor. He threw this on 15. The one that was about 5 feet short. And you can see it skipping right under the basket again. Maybe a little short, but it should be a pretty easy birdie there. Andrew's throwing his drop right under the basket. He gave Vaughn a clear run. Vaughn pulls it a little bit, a little long. It doesn't matter with Andrew under the basket. This is where Matt's Raptor ended up, about 10 feet short. Easy birdie. So they're at 7 under. And so is Team 2 Buff with 7 holes to play. Hole 2, 580 feet. Jacob's ripping on his drive again. This shot was so good, but unfortunately did hit the ice, and we weren't sure if it was inbounds or not. We will have to see in a few moments. I think Matt dissed down to ESP Athena here. Unfortunately, doesn't get enough turn. It does go out of bounds, so they're really, really hoping that Jacob is in bounds because saving the par is pretty tough on this one. Still have to play from like almost a 400-foot drop zone. I think Vaughn overcorrects on what Matt didn't do and maybe Jacob didn't do enough of and really turns it over, but is in bounds. Vaughn gave Andrew a free chance to just crank on one. He's throwing his PD. Doesn't trust it enough over the rocks and does find himself here, which I did not think they would get a chance for a birdie here, but this shot was incredible. Andrew was throwing a MD1, pops out of the rocks about 20, 25 feet away. That's what they're looking at for birdie right now. They were lining up this shot for a little bit. I did not think that Vaughn was going to throw an even better shot here. Hits the ice, slides up, 2 feet away.
Too easy.
It looked like they had nothing in there. They said they had a little bit of a gap. Nevertheless, still wicked impressive there.
Glacier?
So, fortunately, Jacob was inbounds here with his drive. Matt's throwing his Midnight Z Zone again, trying to give it a little bit of a bid. With the ice they were standing on, was a little bit tough to throw and get the legs engaged. but still about 20, 25 feet. Should be able to birdie from there. Jacob's throwing the jawbreaker zone, same one he threw on hole 10 on the upshot, right under the basket. This one ended up a little short, but should still be able to birdie for them.
Kind of want to get your legs in there.
That's where Vaughn's turnover ended up. Not sure what disc it was. He said it was a mid-range, maybe a Buzz SS, maybe a Buzz. Maybe he'll let us know in the comments. Here's Matt for birdie, about 25 feet away. Nails it. So it's tied at 8 under. 6 holes to go. If they both birdie out, they'll end up at 14 under each, which would be the new course record. Here Matt's throwing the force again. He threw this on 18, about 10 feet long. So looked like he was about 20 feet away, but ends up being about 35, maybe 40 feet. Like I said in the text, this hole is 450 feet. It is downhill a lot, but still very far.
Get out.
Jacob is throwing his Fission Hex. He said he could get it there. I definitely believe he could. He just didn't quite hit the angle right. Here Vaughn's throwing a Gorgon, whatever it is. Pretty sure it's a 10-speed from Innova, but he throws that pretty well. He's just outside circle 1. Andrew's throwing a cloud breaker here on a forehand, just a little bit too nose down.
Throw was good, just too low.
So this is Vaughn and Andrew's putt for birdie, about 40 feet away. Was high, but it had a good nose angle on it, nose down. Does catch the chain, so they're at 9 under now, 5 holes to go. And Matt and Jacob both have a chance to hit this putt for birdie as well, about 35 feet. They did have a tough line with those trees. Might have not framed it up super well, but here we got Matt. Let's see if he can knock it down. Oh, again, just right. So maybe it wasn't framed up too well with them missing right. It might have been a little bit tough. So Team 2 Buff does get a stroke there, so they're at 9. Team Crane's at 8. Andrew's throwing a P1 here. Oh, I apologize. It's the drop. Not a P1. 5 feet away. Does hyzer out up to about 35 feet, but thankfully slides down. Doesn't really matter with Andrew parked. Jacob pulls this one a little bit, but gets a really friendly kick out, and he's about 50, 55 feet away. Matt's throwing his Buzz, same one he threw on hole 11 when he put it right under the basket. Let's see if he can do it again. Look at that skip up and slide right next to Andrew's disc. So Andrew and Vaughn gave them this putt. As you can see, if you can put it like that, I think they're all set. So 10-9, 4 holes to go. Hole 5 here is 310 feet. Plays more of a forehand, hyzer, with a little bit of skip, but you can get away with the backhand. I think all 4 of them are throwing a forehand hyzer right here. Andrew's throwing an FD3. First time I saw him throw this disc. Oof. With a different skip right there, that could have definitely went in. So that was pretty sick to see. We got Matt. He's throwing a Raptor. Yep. And Jacob's throwing a Lucid X Felon. I think the last time he threw this was on hole 9, first hole of the round, when he threw that grenade. So here they are from Matt's drive, about 30 feet away. They really need to hit this putt because they're 1 back, only 4 holes to go. Clutch putt right there from Matt. He was putting great this round. They didn't really miss any putts except that one on hole 12. That caused them the 3 putt. And then this is where Andrew's drive landed with his FD3, about 15 feet away.
Good catch. Great
So
catch.
11 to 10. Here we got Vaughn throwing a steady BL. I don't know if he slipped or just pulled it a little bit, but this is definitely one of the easier holes in the course that you want to at least get a putt at. You don't want to be too far on this one. Andrew threw a P1 right there, flipped up a little bit too much. So they're going to have a real tough chance. They're going to have a far bid for birdie. It's not really going to be a putt or anything. Jacob's throwing his Crystal Sparkle Zone SS again. He's been throwing this disc a lot. Gets a weird skip, but he is really only 10 feet away. You guys will see where he landed. Matt's throwing an ESP Luna here. Gets one of the friendly kicks I've ever seen. And he's only about 15, 18 feet away. If that, honestly.
That's terrible.
So this is where 2Buff landed. From this angle, it doesn't look that far, but they're at least 120 feet. You guys saw where they kicked. This is Andrew throwing his drop, and he just sinks it. That was insane. Everything was falling this round. That puts them at 12 under, 2 holes to go. That was insane. This is where Jacob's drive landed. Like I said, about 10 feet. Boom. So 12 under to 11 under, 2 holes to go. Hole 7 is a very tough hole, one of the harder holes on this course. It says 428 feet. It might even be further than that. A lot of times I saw it as 450, but yeah, it's at least 400 feet. Andrew's ripping on his PD here, gets it turned. It's turning over, and then boom, it kicks out right in front of the basket, about 15 feet. I did not expect it to be that close after that kick. I got Matt. I think he just turned over his force right there. Jacob's throwing an S-Blend Sphinx. Shout out Infinite again. I had trouble tracking this one. For some reason, I always struggle recording this hole, even though I'm in a pretty good spot for it. The disc just kind of blends in. But yeah, they're about 55, 60 feet here. They need this one being back 1 stroke, and Andrew and Vaughn are about 15 feet away to go minus 13. So these guys need it to hit 12 if they want any chance. Unfortunately, they were just off, and that water's not out of bounds or anything. That was just from all the ice and snow. Boom. That was for Andrew's birdie. Crazy kick out of the woods. It still would have been a good shot. They would have had a look, but definitely not that close. So that's 13 to 11. 1 hole to go. Team Crane needs to ace, or Team 2Buff really needs to mess something up, which obviously no one wants to happen, but you never know. 2 strokes on hole 8 would be pretty insane. Shout out Paul. This was before singles. He decided to practice putt on hole 7 with a pond surrounding the pole. Yep, there we go. Thumbs up. Doing some push-ups. Here we got hole 8, about 200 feet. It's a forehand hyzer, slight backhand turnover. Tough roll there. Again, that's not out of bounds or anything, so they're fine. About 50 feet. Super easy 3 if they need to. Andrew's throwing MD5 inside the circle, about 20, 25 feet. So that's to go 14 under. And what I was told, the course record was 13 under. I heard Simon and Greg Acoin and Casey White and Aaron LeBlanc, those 2 doubles teams I heard shot 45. And this would bring Andrew and Vaughn to 44. Both those 2 doubles teams are on Team Buff, another A-Pool team. Same A-Pool team that won finals last year. It's Matt putting for birdie for 12 under. Unfortunately, they did not hit it, so they'll stay at 11 under. This is Vaughn putting for a new course record, 14 under. They got it, 44. This was insane because after that spit out on hole 9, they went 2 through 5 on the next 5 holes. Started out 2 through 6, and they got the last 12 holes. Holes 15 through hole 8. Several of them with big putts. Hole 6, there was a huge throw-in from over 100 feet. Shout out to Andrew throwing the ice. We were just joking about that as we were waiting for the other guys to play.
Comment down below what you think.
So yeah, comment down below your thoughts of the video. Let me know any suggestions for commentary. If you guys like the video, make sure to give it a like. If you like the team challenge content, I appreciate all feedback. Let me know. Hope you guys enjoyed. See ya.